We have Bosra coming at us from Germany. This is Phil here in the U.S. in Silicon Valley. My name is Philip Levinson. I'm the head of marketing at Edcast, wanting to welcome everyone to our webinar featuring Edcast and Tech Mahindra. We are very excited about this. We will talk more about the topic of this webinar shortly, and I will introduce our two presenters. Before I do, a couple housekeeping things. First, for anyone joining that has questions, you can enter those questions into the little chat area of the WebEx tool. You'll see in the lower right-hand corner it says Q&A. Feel free to enter those questions, and Bosra and I will try to address those at the end with our presenters. Also, for those of you who have friends or colleagues that meant to join but couldn't, we will be recording this webinar. It is recording now, and we will make this recording available to those who have registered. So thank you. And with that, I want to get started. Before I introduce our two speakers, I want to talk about today's topic. The webinar is entitled Enabling an Agile Workforce with an AI-Powered Knowledge Cloud. And the reason this is so important is, first, let's think about the concepts in this title. Enablement, whether it's team enablement or sales enablement or company enablement, is a major part of HCM and HR and people practice in companies. It's something that has been in the news and has been studied and talked about quite a bit. Agile and agility, that's been one of the major trends, whether it's with tech companies or non-tech companies. How agile is your company is a question that many have been asking. Also, AI. Probably there's no term or concept or technology in the field of high tech that has really been focused on more in the last 18 months than AI. And finally, Knowledge Cloud, which is Edcast's product and solution, and the fact that cloud solutions like Edcast have been and are continuing to change the workforce of the future is really important. And it's a major part of questions that companies have as they look toward the 2020s and beyond. So with that, I want to introduce our two presenters. First, I want to acknowledge and thank the practice head of learning services at Tech Mahindra for joining us, Prabhu Srinivasan. And Prabhu, are you there?
Good morning, Phil, and great to be on this webinar. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. And I want to turn things over to the Managing Director at Edcast, Max Meadow. Max.
Thanks so much. Hello, everybody. It's great to have you here today. Phil, thanks so much for leading us off in this. Bosra for supporting the webinar, and Prabhu, great to be doing the webinar with you. I'm looking forward to the next hour. As Phil mentioned, if you have questions as we're going along, please feel free to enter them into the chat, and Bosra will take care of that. We'll leave a little bit of time at the end of the webinar to be able to address your questions, because obviously anything that you've got on your mind is probably the most important thing, rather than us just battling for the whole hour. So we'll leave some time for questions at the end. Obviously, a little bit about both our organizations before we dig into the topic at hand, which is using AI to enable an agile workforce. A little bit about Edcast. We're now a little over 5 years old, started, as you see, at Stanford University. Couple of key things about this slide. We were founded by people that have diverse experience across industry, academia, learning, et cetera. You can see some of the names of companies where our founding members have come from. And the reason that's important is because as a knowledge platform, as a learning platform, we certainly want to have learning expertise and be able to understand the challenges and opportunities that our clients are presenting to us. But we also recognize that we're in a larger enterprise system that requires financial knowledge, enterprise systems knowledge, real deep policy, procedure, practice knowledge, because these are complex issues. So we've assembled a team that really brings a holistic view of the business to our product development. so that we can serve enterprise customers in a way that not only solves for learning and knowledge issues, but does it in a way that enterprises can adopt and maintain both securely and with the kind of confidence that it's going to bring them the features and functions that they need. Middle part, I'm not going to drain the part about investors. We're through several rounds of investment or growing company, but the fact that we've been able to attract such name brand investors is a testament to the strength and depth of the platform, as also represented in the fact that we have and continue to win numerous awards from both learning and business organizations, which again represents the fact that we're a pretty well-rounded platform, not just in learning, but in our ability to help businesses solve for the problems that they have today. So a little bit about us. We'll dive into this obviously in more detail as we get further into the presentation. But the Knowledge Cloud solution is about discovery, personalization, and being able to bring knowledge to solve for skills gaps in a flexible and dynamic way as the business grows, right? I mean, we're talking about an agile workforce. I don't need to tell any of you how fast things change today, whether you're in a directly digital workspace or whether you're just impacted by the digital trends that are going on. And we need to be able to adapt to that. Our platform is built to be able to help you solve for those knowledge needs very quickly and very flexibly. We thought about this platform as a mobile-first platform, so everything that we do and show today is capable of being delivered through a mobile device. As a matter of fact, there's some capabilities on mobile that extend beyond what the desktop or web-based version can do. AI-powered, as Phil mentioned, is very important. We'll cover that in a number of different ways that AI helps enhance the value of the platform, and the ability to make it personalized so that everybody can get what they need when they need it in a very dynamic business environment. Sheep dipping people in the same learning programs is not what you want to do. People need to be able to adjust this to meet their needs at the moment. And then, as I mentioned, we need to be able to do this across the enterprise. There's lots and lots of different types of organizations. So that's how we've thought about the platform. That's what we're going to endeavor to show you today. And then, along the way, explain how AI is helping to do that to meet the needs of an agile workforce. And with that little explanation about Edcast, I'm going to turn this over to Prabhu.
Thank you, Max. And quick introduction about Tech Mahindra and who we are. Tech Mahindra is the fifth largest system integrator, and with 900 plus customers across the globe. This includes customers spanning across different verticals, including manufacturing, retail, healthcare, telecom, oil and gas. We are closing $5 billion in revenue and 130K associates globally present in 90 plus countries. Our parent Mahindra Group companies is a $20 billion US in revenues. And we are also very proud to say that we are the only system integrator to have won the Forbes Digital Award, as we are transforming many of our customers to digital space, right? And we have been picked as one of the top 100 firms, and we are the only system integrator to have won this award, right? Our revenues typically come from the North American region, Europe, and rest of the world. We are one of the top 5 system integrators across the globe. Quick snapshot of what we do in the HCM space. We are no strangers to this space. We have been working in this space for almost two and a half decades now. We are a 500 plus member team, primarily focused on end-to-end HR transformation services and building digital solution for our customers. That includes HR analytics, robotic process automation, chatbot, and learner experience platform, including edX, Edcast. Our product partnerships include alliances with leading HCM products, Oracle, SuccessFactors, Kronos, Workday for more than 2 decades. And in talent and learning space, Our expertise spans more than a decade of partnership with leading product vendors, rendering consulting services, building LMS platforms, creating content solutions, and managing complex cloud-to-cloud integration and ecosystems for our customers. The product partnership also includes Edcast, who are the leaders in learner experience space. As the days of traditional LMSs are going away with the new age of SMAC, social, mobile, analytic, cloud learning. And this partnership also aligns with Tech Mahindra's digital strategy to enable our customers. Next slide, Matt.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Three major shifts in the workplace that we are seeing today as a system integrator across our customers and how the ecosystem is evolving. This includes a very changing workforce, right? More millennials than baby boomers. The shift is demanding to a very different type of employee and learning experience. Changing work, right? Ever widening skill gap due to fast changing environment and technology. We see that pretty much this is a very common challenge that many of our customers face. Work has become very agile in nature, resulting in continuous learning. The last of it is the digital transformation. We see that learning is completely transforming to digital with social mobile enabled platform, with search capability enabled and self-publishing features that has simplified learning as well. Next slide, Max. So keeping all these tenets in mind, Tech Mahindra had a few challenges where we were looking to a platform that could solve our problems, very typical problems that many of the customers around the globe have. This includes how do we get on to the journey of the ever-widening skill gap and bridge this gap for our employees. And looking at the dynamics for a company like Tech Mahindra, the variety of skills that we train our people, technology, business process, and the transformation, consulting related, change management. So we were really comprehending and having these challenges, and we were looking at a single platform that could bring all of this together in a very simple mobile-enabled, search-enabled way for our workforce. And Edcast was the right choice, right? And we were also typically challenged with different learning sources, which includes, having all these trainings on SharePoint or on our corporate LMS platform, which was SumTotal, which is exactly what many of the customers go through today. And we found that Edcast could be a single unifying platform to bring all of this together. So we embarked on this journey and this transformation for our CRM and HCM unit. We started building this platform. We built the connectors to all of these external portals where some of our associates log in and learn their technical skills, including Coursera and other external platforms. They also look into SumTotal to complete their learner journey, which has been enabled for them, right? All of this comes in a very simple single platform through Edcast, and that is exactly what we have implemented. And we see that the outcomes have been so different. It's a single experience for our associates, and they could log in into all of these platforms. And we are so glad that we are partnered with Edcast, and we have been able to solve this complex problem for our learning of our associates, and and bridge the skill gap as well for these associates. Because especially in the industry where we are, the technology keeps changing very constantly, and the continuous learning is something that we always look forward to our associates. And Edcast has been one big help here with us. With that, over to Max to take over and give you a perspective of the product from here. Thank you, Max.
Thanks, Prabhu. That was a great rundown of both the environment that we're dealing with today, as well as some of the ways that TechM has thought about solving for the problem. And again, the power that both of us bring as partners in helping other industries or other businesses solve for some of the learning challenges that they have. A little bit more on some of the environmental factors that are driving the kind of, why LXP piece, right? Obviously, this is one of a suite of new modern day learning technologies that have come in to help not only challenge the primacy of a learning management system, but offer capabilities that learning organizations just simply didn't have before. And I'm not going to read every piece of data that's on here, but I think we all know that the time people have for learning inside an organization is extremely limited, and people want to make the most of it. People are distracted, they don't have large periods of time, and commercial apps, like just even going back to Google or any of the commercial app experiences that you have on a mobile or web device kind of teach you that convenience is king these days. So people are going to search for what they want. If they don't find it, they're going to move on. And one of the challenges that we need to solve for in learning is that we need to be much, much better at bringing relevant content to people and letting them structure what they feel is relevant. In other words, personalized learning, right? Help me take what you're providing to me as a company and make it grab their attention so that it feels like it's tuned to them, or give them the kind of choices inside a platform that they need to be able to structure what they see and what they don't see, so that when they come to a learning platform, they feel like that journey is actually going to be something that is relevant. And if you look, down the right, some of the data that supports that, people turn to smartphones several times a day. People turn to Google in order to do searches even for work-related things. The number of people who really want to have opportunities for learning and for growth keeps getting bigger and bigger, as probably mentioned, with the shift in the dynamics of the workforce and new generations coming on board. But again, with a limited time, we have to do everything we can to make that experience for learning as rewarding as possible, so that we don't simply tire people out simply searching for what it is that they want. So what are some of the trends that we're seeing in order to support this? It's focus on different things, focus on work-life skills, focus on growth, being able to provide people with information that helps them not just directly with the work that they have to do, but with balancing their work with their personal life and for the path ahead as they think about their careers. How can they differentiate between what I need to know now to get my job done and what do I need to know later to continue to be relevant to my organization? And that means things like curating in a more relevant way, being able to sift through the masses of data and bring people information that they need, being able to generate more user-generated content so that people can provide each other guidance, kind of both a social thing and the ability for experts within your organization to point people towards content that they feel is more valuable, getting rid of things that don't work, and being able to use different modes of learning, video, graphics, short-form content, web-based content that might not be structured as traditional learning, to bring people daily insights and structured learning that suits their need at the moment. And that's a very complicated problem that goes beyond what traditional learning organizations or traditional learning formats have been, where you're doing classroom or large format e-learning, where you control the mode, you control the environment, you control the delivery. This has to be much more flexible with different modes and different filters and different capabilities so that people can really kind of direct what they need to do from a learning perspective to suit the environment that they're in and the situation that they're in. So as part of this is a diagram that Josh Burson has published, I think, a little while ago. And, it just shows that the learning experience platform in and of itself is really starting to gain primacy as the front door, if you will, or the aggregator of all learning content. Learning management systems, things that manage compliance and regulatory learning, things that manage administration, those are all probably still necessary and will be for a while, but as the primary experience point for learners, they're kind of going away in importance, and we want to be able to provide people with a much more dynamic and flexible experience. And the quote from Josh, I think, is applicable here. We all need skills, but I think we know that training alone is not enough. We need to be able to provide people information and experiences in dynamic environments, because people really learn on the job. People learn by doing. So our ability to bring information, which we'll look at in a little while, to people where they work and in the environment that they're in, really helps enable that learning where it's going to stick, where practice can occur, where it can be reinforced, and where people can get feedback from each other and from experts on how they've consumed the knowledge that we're giving them and practiced it, and then adjust as they go. So some of the things that we can do, and we'll get into a demo here to show this to you in a little bit. We can unify discovery and search of information. Like we said, we'll show how AI works a little bit here, but there's a vast sea of information out there, and the ability to get at all of it conveniently and then make it easy to find, easy to adjust, easy to configure so that the system brings me what I need are some of the tools that we're focused on, as well as bringing experts into the picture so that they can help guide and provide information to groups of people when it's needed. And we'll also talk a little bit about learning in the flow of work, which takes learning sort of a step beyond the traditional environments that we've dealt with and allows us to bring learning to where people are, instead of bringing people to where the learning is. And I think we've all experienced that. Most obvious example is a classroom. If you're going to learn something and you have to go to a class, you have to go to that class. If you are taking e-learning that's long and sophisticated, has testing and whatnot, you have to go to a spot, consume that e-learning, and then come back to your work environment. And those things are and will always be a valuable part of any employee's experience, especially as they're onboarding or learning a new set of skills or transitioning from one job to another. But it's also true that if you can learn where you are working and have a chance to consume information and practice it, then there's a much more immediate reinforcement effect. I think we've all seen all the information on the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve and on the primacy of how quickly learning is forgotten if it's not reinforced. In Edcast, you don't practice in Edcast. You learn in Edcast. You access content in Edcast. Being able to do that in the flow of work where you need it and when you need it allows you to get that reinforcement, allows you to practice that skill set in ways that then stick and that you can come back to conveniently over time for constant reinforcement, so that the knowledge really translates into skills and abilities. And then I think we've already mentioned mobile first. We'll talk about AI here in a little bit. So as I mentioned at the top, our organization has obviously deep learning expertise, but we have experts from all aspects of industry and finance and procurement and IT and business. And the reason we did that is because we recognized that the tool we were going to build has to operate in an enterprise environment. So security architecture that we built enables us to really operate, as most organizations are moving to more cloud-based models, but having to do so in a secure environment. We can do that in ways that both protect data and offer the ability to connect to all the systems that become very important to a learning infrastructure. I've already mentioned that we're AI, excuse me, and mobile first. We'll talk about this in a minute. There's a lot of content out there. Internal to an organization, any sizable organization probably has multiple learning management systems. There could be a lot of data repositories such as Box or SharePoint or other drives that have valuable information on them. We may not consider them to be learning unless we can leverage them in an environment such as an LXP, but they are valuable pieces of content. We just can't necessarily get to them in traditional ways. And then there are a plethora of external, both premium and free content providers that are out there. And all of them can play a role in learning. So we've built an integration framework that allows our organizations to really scale as their needs scale and bring in all these content sources. Again, because of the way you'll see our AI operate and some of the tools we have within the platform, anything we bring in through that integration framework will then be available to people on a very even basis so that we enhance discovery and enhance the ability for people to actually do something valuable with the information they find. And then, as I mentioned, learning in the flow of work, which is our ability to take all this capability and then bring it to the systems that you're seeing here. And we'll demonstrate a couple of these today, but being able to operate in an environment like VMware's Workspace ONE or Workplace for Facebook. We'll look at Microsoft Teams today. Or in environments like ServiceNow, or even being able to get information when you're sitting in an Office 365 or Slack environment can be very useful. So again, anything we can do to bring content to people as opposed to having to bring the people to the content and to the learning, we feel is a valuable way to help an Agile workforce get the knowledge that they need to operate and then continue on with their day, again, being able to reinforce that knowledge with practice. So let's talk about AI for a second. The way we've built this tool over the years to really think about the power of artificial intelligence in looking through the World Wide Web and influencers and social media and understand the way business topics are being spoken about, extract the important characteristics of that conversation, and build the taxonomy that can be used for learning has been one of the key things about this platform, right? As you can imagine, there are hundreds, if not over 1,000 different topics that you can think of from a business perspective, and what they mean to an organization needs to be very specific, especially in the context of how do I learn about that topic. So we've spent a lot of time building up these signatures that really understand what terms mean from a business perspective, and then applying that taxonomy to be able to look at content, filter out the noise, get rid of the stuff that's either not work-related, not relevant because it may have the words in it, but it doesn't really contain business-relevant content, and then take it and organize it in such a way that when I search for something, I can find it easily. I don't have to think about how to find it. It kind of organizes things for me, and then by extension, really make it discoverable. That's probably the key thing I want to focus on today for AI. There's thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or millions of pieces of content that an organization might have access to. Being able to filter out the quote-unquote junk, present what's left, what's good, to me as a user or a learning leader or a supervisor or manager in the business in an intelligent way that I can make some quick decisions on it and deliver it to the people who need it is a huge value and something that would take a small army of people to be able to do, to go through the content that's there. And then, even then, you probably couldn't get that army of people to apply consistent filters, tags, et cetera, to it. So using AI in that way really helps give us a jump start, and we'll see how that taxonomy gets reflected throughout the platform. But what we've done here, before I dive into the demo, is be able to, as you see on the left, take input from experts, as I mentioned, through that integration framework, both internal content, premium, free and open content that you find on the web, as well as the formal learning content from things like learning management systems, and apply it through our platform, apply the machine learning and artificial intelligence to it to let us aggregate all that content, apply some really consistent metrics or metadata to it so that it is discoverable, and allow people to curate it, target it to whom they need, and then as needed, create additional content through subject matter experts that help guide people to the knowledge. And then the last part on the right, as I've mentioned a couple of times here, is being able to bring that not only to people in our mobile and web environment, but bring it to people in the workplace where they need it, as has been called learning in the flow of work, instead of bringing people outside of their work environment to go find what they need. Already talked about this a little bit, covered this, I think, don't need to spend any more time on that. So with that, let's get into a demo of the platform. And I'm going to start with the web version. So this is what Edcast looks like when it's presented to people on the desktop. And I'm not going to dive too deep into this today, but a couple of things about the product. The home page is designed to bring learning to me on a daily basis and reinforce that habit of learning. As you can see in today's insights, this is machine learning in action. Our platform, as I've mentioned, has used machine learning to build up a taxonomy and look at every object that we bring into it. When I onboard into the platform, I tell the system what I'm interested in learning. As learning leaders, people who are implementing the platform, we can make decisions about what we think people might want to learn based on profiles in HR system or any other system of record. And we can drive some of this behavior out of the box, but then let people modify it over time. And so I pick things like agile software development and whatnot, and you can see that it's bringing me that content on a regular basis. Now, I can come over to the Me page, and I can change my interests. And you see right here, I can decide, for instance, maybe I have just been assigned more leadership tasks, and I really want to think about leadership now in my career journey. So I'm going to pick digital leadership, and I'm going to pick leadership development and update my skills. And now tomorrow, when I log into the platform, I'm going to begin to see data from the system on digital leadership and leadership come to me on my homepage, and I can change my journey over time as I begin to grow. I can also follow people and different content organizations on the system and begin to see insights from my team or from people that I trust and like, their thinking. You can see Becky and Annie and Nicholas here providing information because I have decided to follow them based on what I know about what they do. So the homepage, like I said, is designed to both use AI and machine learning here because I'm using the same filters that the tool applied to the content and using it to drive my daily learning journey. I can also go to a Discover page where I can look at all of the information that the organization has presented and all of the experts that the organization has. For instance, let's say Todd. I can look at Todd and I see that he's an expert in digital transformation and corporate learning, and simply by clicking follow here, his content will begin to come to me on the homepage on a daily basis, as well as all of these content topics that I can choose to explore on my own. And a very popular one and a good use case is think about onboarding. Everybody comes into an organization. You need all kinds of onboarding in order for you to be a productive member of the workforce, and the ability to bring that to people on a consistent basis can be really very important. So I can drive membership in this onboarding channel automatically based on HR data, and you see that everybody comes in, they have a course they can take, there's some cards here they can access. So right off the bat, I can start providing people an experience by designating channels, as we call them, of information for people to follow, or making a lot of this information available to people as soon as they come on board, so that they kind of know where to go and know how to get started. Some other things that we can do with the platform. So we've talked about home, which is a place where my decisions are reflected in the daily learning that gets delivered to me. I have a discover page where I can go discover other people and content that might be of interest to me, and then choose to follow it or not. I've mentioned by inference, but with HR data and with administrative rights, I can also assign learning to people that it can show up as required learning or in any number of ways, and that can be driven by HR data or by administrators, so that if I do have mandatory learning or compliance-related learning, any signal that I can send to Edcast that a user needs to be assigned that can be handled automatically or can be handled by people, but we always want to make everything available to people to discover. Another feature that we can go through is thinking about the people from a people-centric perspective instead of a content-centric perspective. And maybe I want to set up groups of people to be able to collaborate around any given set of topics. So for instance, here, sales, I'm in the sales group. You can see I can assign leaders. Leaders can assign content. People in the group can share content. So we can associate channels with the content, or with the group, excuse me, so that we can now bring a number of topics together for a group or a community of interest. And we can then begin to collaborate in this group space and grow the knowledge of any particular group. Additionally, I think I've already showed you the channels, but we have a way to organize that channel. We also have a way to think about this from a skills perspective. So if I don't have a particular set of topics, or if I want to focus on skills, may be able to show that today. Here we go. So I'm going to pick something that should be fairly obvious to everybody. Let's say I want to become an Agile coach. And this is a sampling of data. We get data from the U.S. Department of Labor, and it's regularly updated by some of the online skills platforms that are constantly coming the web for resumes and job applications and job postings, and looking at the job families and skills that are associated with it. So if I want to become an Agile coach, I know that JIRA, being able to operate it, is very important. I can start finding information right here based on the skills that I need. This job family and skills information, like I said, starts with the U.S. Department of Labor information, and is modified by several organizations' input that looks globally at these things, so that it's not just U.S.-centric. And both this tool as well as the machine learning taxonomy that I was showing you when I selected my interests are configurable client by client. So if you have terminology that's specific to your industry or your organization, or you want certain job families to have certain skill sets, or you want certain learning terms in the taxonomy to mean certain things, we can train this engine for you and for your organization to increase the relevance of that content for the people that are searching for it. So, we're not just providing this kind of out-of-the-box capability, but we are letting you manage it to make it more relevant to your folks over time. And then just very quickly show you a little bit of the admin console. We can look at these things, and these were channels of data, and you can actually, let me just show you really quickly, you can select content sources, and you can select topics, again, just like I could as a person, and select machine learning taxonomy interests. I can do that inside a channel and automate the delivery of information to a channel and then put a human curator on it so that they can make last mile decisions. But again, being able to use this AI to go back and search these vast amounts of information that are available to us, use an even machine learning taxonomy to filter out the garbage, take what's valuable and give it metadata that makes it consistent and easily discoverable, and then provide tools inside the platform like the job families, the skills, the topics, and make that available to people to choose from, make it available to curators to drive information to channels, make it available to administrators to configure and make specific to the organization, are 3 ways that we can use AI and machine learning to really drive vast amounts of data that are relevant and can be organized and delivered to people in an easily discoverable way that can then be personalized to suit the needs of the individual. And you saw me adjust my interest, you saw me follow people and follow channels, and I can do all of that to really kind of personalize my learning journey. So that's an overview of the platform. We've got a few minutes left, so I do want to talk about this learning in the flow of work for a couple of minutes. This is Microsoft Teams. You can see I've set up sort of Acme Corp here, but again, if I am a new employee and I'm onboarded, remember the content I just saw in the system, I can bring it right into Microsoft Teams, so I don't have to go anywhere. I can just add it right to the team environment that I'm working in. If I'm an administrator, I can quickly go to Edcast. Let's say I want to create a channel on, I don't know, let's say design thinking. I can just save that, and I can make this available to people right there. So, you know, I might want to change this to design thinking as a channel here, but I can bring learning right to people. And so when I log into Teams for the day, if I need to know something, I can go straight there. I don't have to go back out and figure out how to learn this from somewhere else and then come back into the environment. I can chat with people. I can also chat with, let's see what we do with the tool here. I can just put a word or a term in here, and then the system should bring me leadership content or agile content or whatever I choose to do. So again, being able to work straight in the environment that I'm in is what we think a very, very valuable tool. Last point I want to make is another way we have this here. I've got the presentation we've been using, but I've got it in working in PowerPoint here. And let's say I want to learn something about artificial intelligence. I'm just going to highlight that word, and I can search straight from within Office 365 and start finding information that's available in the system, in my Edcast system, so I can do my research straight from PowerPoint or Word and get the data I need to build a presentation or understand a concept. So I think what we've done here is shown a little bit about the platform, explained how we used artificial intelligence to help filter this vast sea of data and then make it relevant, discoverable, personalized, shown you some of the tools that administrators can use to manage the experience that people have and really kind of make learning an engaging and personalized journey for folks. So I think at this point, let's go back to where we were right here. Spend a minute on a couple of the real driving forces between why you should think about this, right? If you think about using a learning experience platform, the ability to increase productivity both on day one and just on a daily basis by bringing learning to people where they are, allowing them to discover the things that they need to discover to do their jobs, the ability to really engage users and make them feel like a part of the organization, make them feel like they can contribute, we believe fosters retention and fosters longevity within the organization, because you're providing people not only the information they need to feel relevant and valuable at work, but also giving them the kind of growth path that they need to continue to feel relevant as their organization grows and changes. And then just one example, NASSCOM is an organization, an IT membership organization in India, has millions of members. And the reason we're showing this example is because we think it's applicable to almost any industry. We want to be able to create an ecosystem that's driven by industry needs, that helps build skills, and that deals with emerging technologies. It doesn't really matter who you are, what your job is at work today. There are new technologies that are disrupting the way you're doing things. There are things that you need to know to be able to do your job. And being able to bring that information to people using new technologies in ways that meet their needs in their environment is really important. And that's what NASSCOM focused on from the perspective of taking millions of people and re-educating them on digital and cloud-based technologies as opposed to traditional IT technologies is what they were focused on. And you can see on the right all the things that they did. But you can extend that out to almost any job, almost any role today is going to have some impact that could benefit from this kind of timely information delivery that we're capable of bringing to people. And I think that brings us to the end of the conversation for today, at least the conversation and the demo that we had planned. So we have a few minutes left, I believe, for questions and answers.
Yes. Thanks so much, Max and Prabhu. This has been fantastic. We do have a few questions. I'll let Boshra jump in with those. And again, for those of you who do have questions, we'll have time to get to 2 or 3. You can enter them into the Q&A section. Boshra, do you want to jump in with the first question?
Sure. Yes, I just want to thank Max and Prabhu for the webinar. Our first question is from Myra. Her question is, would the Edcast interface we just saw only be applied to internal users, employees? Could we have exclusive Edcast interface for employees and different kinds of customers? Would customers not be able to access the internal?
Yeah, that is a great question. And, you know, there's so much that we could show. So there are some things that I didn't show, but we can, through permissions, set up roles for external, whether they be gig workers or customers. We can set up permissions on content to segment it so that you can deliver a learning experience to each audience suited to their needs. So the short answer is yes, you can use this for customers and extended enterprise, but you can also differentiate the experience for your employees. So, you know, some people may have access to certain leadership content and others maybe you don't want them to, you know, so you can really differentiate through both the permissions you place on people's access as well as the permissions that are associated with the content itself.
All right, thank you, Max. We do have another question for you, Max. Question is from Jean, and it is, if I have selected, for example, the topic LXP platform, and there is a live webinar on this topic as there is today, will the platform showcase this for the learner to attend this webinar on the topic he wants to develop?
So again, another very good question. There are a number of ways that we can do that. We have development tools inside the platform. Remember, we're talking about aggregating a lot of external and internal content and making it discoverable. We also have some development tools that are inside the platform that allow you to create and schedule things like virtual sessions. If I do that, then those would be discoverable by anybody that put in the term that you just mentioned. I think it was, for LXP. That would be available to them both live, and we can create that as a recorded event so that it is discoverable after the event and viewable as a recording. We have that video tool in the platform through our mobile device that's a live stream where anytime I start a live stream or Phil starts one or Boshra, any of the people that follow us will be notified that that live stream is starting. As with the virtual session, if you sign up for it, you'll get a notice that it's starting. So in that case, you could view the event live. But in all cases, we're going to record it and make it available so that if you can't catch it live, just like there could be some folks who signed up for this webinar who couldn't make it today. And if you listened all the way to the end, you're hearing me say this now, thank you for signing up, but now you can watch it in a recorded fashion. We do the same thing within the platform.
Great, thank you. And Prabhu, for you, what are the focus areas for TechM's HCM practice, and how do they work with Edcast?
Thanks for that question. I would like to answer that. So the focus is primarily today on cloud transformation and building new age digital partnerships with very similar product lines like Edcast beyond learner experience, right? So what we have been doing is that build these partnerships and also help our customers transform in that journey, right? And Edcast is a standing example that we have aligned with Edcast as the only partner in this space. And we also see that the days of traditional LMSs are going away, and we are building this capability within Mahindra. So we have first taken the step to implement Edcast platform for our own associates. So today, close to 5,000 associates use Edcast platform, and we are also built this capability, including the product knowledge and the integration knowledge around this product as well.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. We have two questions here. We have, what are the LMS integration components available? And in what ways can Edcast support and complement training delivery when an enterprise LMS exists already?
So those are very good questions. So there are, without going into too much detail, we have APIs that we've exposed to the learning management system content, be it signups for physical classroom training, because remember, that's still something that happens and needs to happen, virtual training, online, learning ELT that might be SCORM-based that sits in an LMS. We can index all of that and make it available through our LXP. And our APIs can also take completion information and data from behavior in the LMS back into our learning record store, and our XAPI system can take all that and provide reporting on it, so that we really have kind of a two-way communication to index and make the content available, and then get the data back from whatever the user does inside the system. We think that's very important, is to be able to really understand that there's lots of content sources out there, including learning management systems, and we want you to go have the experience that you're supposed to have in that content. But then we want to bring you back and bring the information back into Edcast so you can get a really holistic view of what a learner's journey has been. And from a reporting perspective, really get a holistic view of what's happening within and outside the system and be able to make decisions on it.
Great. And going just a little bit piggybacking off of that, so what skills can Edcast help address? And for companies that are not non-tech companies, how do those solutions work?
Yeah, so good question. Look, there's an obvious affinity for a platform like this, rapidly changing tech skills. So when you think about, typical IT jobs, InfoSec, security architecture, implementation and maintenance platforms, there's new technology coming out all the time, and there's probably a constant flow of information into this. But we'd argue that almost every role in any organization could benefit from the kind of capabilities that this platform delivers. Bringing leadership skills to people, being able to deliver things like onboarding to everybody across the organization in much more flexible and dynamic ways than a learning management system can do. Even if you're not in a quote-unquote tech environment, almost everybody in any organization has access to technology. So cybersecurity threats, appropriate behavior with social systems that are present at work, the ability to use and manage all the technology that most workers have to do to get their jobs done, like SharePoint, Box, the other systems that people adapt or use every day. All of that information changes on a regular basis. All of that information can be needed in the workplace in a moment of need. And the LXP can allow people to discover it, use it, and apply it immediately to their job. So I think our value extends way beyond just people that have quote unquote technology-enabled roles.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting, very good. All right, folks, we have just a few minutes left, so if you have any questions, please submit them in the Q&A. We do have another question here. I think, Max, this would be directed towards you again. People have learning preferences, videos or text, etc. Will the AI recognize which kind of format one learner selects the most so that the system will highlight them first for better retention from the learner on the topic?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And within the platform, if you are searching for information, as again, we wouldn't have time to dig really deep into all the capabilities of the platform, but you can choose what formats you need. I want to be very upfront. We have the capability to point the artificial intelligence at you, quote unquote, and learn those kinds of preferences. We've chosen not to do this at this point because your needs could change from minute to minute in the workplace. So if you really want video on a specific topic, the platform will let you look for that topic and then filter down to just videos so that you can get what you want. But we don't want the AI making those kinds of decisions for you because we don't think that's a permanent decision about you as an employee. We think that's pretty dependent on where you sit in the workplace and what you might need at any given moment, not to mention the fact that if you need something on a topic and you've selected video and the best thing that exists is a web-based article, we want you to be able to discover that. We don't want the AI to hide it from you.
All right, great. Well, we've hit our last minute here, so I want to thank both Prabhu and Max for being here with us today. I just want to remind everyone that we will be making the webinar recording available and also the slides in PDF format, so stay tuned for that. I just want to thank everyone for joining us, and I'm going to stop recording now.